Good afternoon. Welcome to EduSat Network. Friend, as you know, we are having discussion on sociological theory. Yesterday we discussed positivism. Today we will continue with the lecture on sociological theory, but our focus of discussion will be functionalism, how it started, its maturation stage, criticism, and current status. And we'll also try to understand the functionalism in respect of Indian society. How can we analyze the present problem we are facing, analyzing through the functionalism and other sociological theory. And for discussion on this topic, we have in the studio eminent social science thinker, Dr. Subhas Mahapatra.
Let me just tell you that the basic purpose of these lecture programs is to bring sociology to the doorstep of the students. In everyday newspaper, you find out there are some interesting happenings, there are certain kind of crises, problems, and very few news we locate in everyday life which can give a sense of satisfaction or happiness to us. In such a context, what is the role of sociological imagination? Is there a necessity to look into the social realities from a sociological standpoint or not? How sociologists are reflecting on these conditionalities in different way from the understanding of reality by a common man. So where common sense knowledge ends and sociological imagination starts, we have to get into the details of it by establishing a connectivity between theories and sociology and facts we are encountering in our everyday life. Yesterday I have discussed in brief about how this functionalist social tradition developed and how sociology evolved as a discipline, glorifying its scientific status through the contribution of positivists. You know, when one speaks about functionalism, the basic idea comes to mind is that what is function and what is functionalism? Functions means the roles related to a particular structure. Pen is a structure. When you are writing on this pen, that speaks about the function of the pen. When watch is giving you time, it is the function of the watch. Therefore, structure is the physical appearance of an object, an institution, or a body, whereas the roles allocated to it, the roles performed by it is known as functions. Functionalism as a tradition in sociology developed during the early part of 20th century. And the reasons were two. One was academic and second was social. I cannot disconnect one from the other because academic interest in something is a reflection of the time and reflection on the social conditionalities. By 19th century, we find out that old society in Europe is disintegrating, village communities are disappearing, religion is slowly going to the state of oblivion, agrarian economy is replaced by urban industrial economy, collectivism is replaced by individual success, utilitarian goals, hierarchical traditional political authority is replaced by the spirit of democracy, rules of law. So therefore, traditional society is disintegrating and new social conditions are evolving. And sociologists are reacting to these new conditions in two different ways. A group of sociologists have a sense of joy, have a sense of happiness because they are finding out that new society is bringing lot of primarily happiness, joy, prosperity to the mankind. Therefore, they are engaged in celebration of society or celebration of modernity. Whereas skeptics are present who are questioning to this change and considering that the new social order is full of with anonymity, giving credence to materialism. Huge migration is leading to despair. Traditional culture is absolutely uprooted. So therefore, there is a sense of concern. There is a sense of awe. There is a sense of sufferings. So therefore, two distinctive kind of sociological theories are developing, reacting to, reflecting on the changing social situations. The first body of sociologists, they have trust on humanity, faith on collective behavior. They celebrate social progress, and they consider when change is driven by the will of collectivity, that will, scientific will, that will is a kind of zest to move forward, that will to hold the society together in new form, with new endeavors, with new form of companionship, new respect for rules of law. That society can guarantee happiness to masses. So this tradition of considering social change as an organized phenomena coming out of the will of collectivity to contribute for social progress is otherwise known as foundation to functional theory in sociology. Functional theory is believing in certain premises that society is an integrated and unified whole. And within the society, there are present different parts. When change is taking place in one part, it is contributing for disequilibrium in other parts of the society. And that brings forward new kind of problems, new form of crisis, and a demand for new form of negotiation and new form of adjustment. And when these parts of the society, they negotiate with each other, they develop new form of interlinkage with each other, that brings forward a new social system, a new social structure driven by the principle of new arrangement, thus a new equilibrium. Therefore, societal change is not bringing forward destruction. Behind every change, there is present a new promise. There is present a new negotiation. There is present a new form of harmony. So therefore, social change symbolizes progress. And change is a form of moving equilibrium. Change is a form of continuity. So therefore, sociology should look into change with a positivistic note than with pessimism. This foundation to social change forwarded by functionalists is tracing its root in classical sociological theories. I will be dividing my lecture on functionalism in sociology into three major parts. In first part, I will be explaining how classical sociologists are looking into functionalism as a parameter to understand social change. Then subsequently functionalism in 1920s to 1960s. Then functional tradition in sociology from 1980 onwards, what we call today as neo-functional tradition. Before I proceed, let me tell you, any sociological theory is a reflection of time. Time changes. Therefore, design of sociological theories also changes. Old theories are revised, new theories develop, and new theories are not absolute. They are also subjected to questioning. Therefore, through development of theories in sociology, sociology evolves, develops as a mature discipline. When I come down to classical theories, and how they look at functionalism, the first person who comes to my mind is Auguste Comte. Comte is making a distinction between social statics and social dynamics. He tells the sociology of statics should be understood in relation to the law of actions and reactions taking place in different institutional parts of the society. The law of action and reaction taking place in different parts of the society. If these actions and reactions are balancing to each other, then there is a possibility of social continuity. Take for example, government is formulating a public policy, action. How people are reacting to it. If people are positively reacting to government policies, then there is a continuity taking place in political structure. If people react to it in a different way, negate to the policy of the government, looking into how these policies are not inclusive, then there is a desire for change. Therefore, social statics is a product of the law of actions and reactions, whether they are maintaining equilibrium with each other, balance to each other, or they are posing a kind of imbalance to each other. On the basis of that, we can understand the structural parts of the society and continuity and change taking place in them. This is a beautiful analysis. It tells society is subjected to continuity if parts are developing a kind of equilibrium. And parts to develop harmony and equilibrium must have to go through the process of statics. And Comte goes on to say that statics predominates over dynamics. Therefore, he tells that theological stage persisted for centuries together. Metaphysical stage also persisted till 1800 AD. Thereafter, scientific stage developed, and in these three different stages of society, different kinds of ideology. In theological stage, it is the ideology of religion. Metaphysical stage, philosophical ideology, and scientific stage, rationality as a form of ideology, provides a guideline to the people, to the institution, to hold themselves together. Therefore, societies are subjected to continuity because there is present integration between the parts, and within each part there is integration because people's actions and reactions are greatly defined by common value and common perceptions. So therefore, value consensus, the whole idea, how holding society together, is spelled out by Auguste Comte, which is being borrowed subsequently by other functionalists. Then I will be introducing to you a person who is known as Herbert Spencer. Comte is more attached towards positivism. Therefore, people fail to understand functional outline present in the writings of Auguste Comte. Similarly, Herbert Spencer is more affiliated with evolutionary theory. Therefore, his functional orientation is not understood much by the readers of Herbert Spencer. Even Talcott Parsons, a great functionalist of America, goes on to say, who now reads Spencer? Means the demise of evolutionary theory, to Parsons, is foundation to functionalism. But the current of functionalism, you notice to be present in the writings of Herbert Spencer. Spencer introduces a concept of differentiation. He tells that social differentiation is foundation to social progress. It is evident from the fact that when technology develops, skills develop, people are engaged in varieties of activities. And once people are engaged in varieties of activities, they become highly specialized. and specialized people are engaged in part productions. Therefore, differentiation is not only evolving in modern society, in economic sphere, but also in administrative system, political system, different bodies of people specializing in different activities are holding different social position and taking up varieties of roles. Higher is the degree of differentiation, more the people are interconnected to each other for the gratification of their common goals. So this analysis of Herbert Spencer indicates that more the people get differentiated, more they are coming closer to each other, there is a kind of integration or harmony taking place among them, and because of this harmony, the institution is subjected to continuity, and that this continuity of the institution talks about social progress. This idea of Spencer is brilliantly incorporated in a subsequent scholar like Emile Durkheim in his study of division of labor in society. Therefore, root of functionalism is noticed in positivism, also noticed in evolutionary theory, and that is taken into consideration by Emile Durkheim subsequently. I gave you an outline about Durkheim as a functionalist yesterday. Let me just introduce Durkheim to you, how he is establishing a balance between positivism and functionalism. You know, when he talks about social facts, telling that social facts are external to individual. Unless you conform to social fact, you realize the constraint character of it. Social facts can be studied from scientific perspective. Social facts are moral facts, binding on individuals. You know, he is primarily holding the position of a positivist. Means any social fact present in society can be studied scientifically through observation, verification, classification, comparison. So therefore, he is holding a positivistic position while talking about social facts and how they need to be studied. But Durkheim's functionalist position is clearly spelled out when he is talking about crime and punishment. You know, he is rejecting two conventional theories of crime and punishment by indicating where there is normal present, along with normal, deviation to normal is present. Therefore, normal and pathological are two sides of the same coin. When many people in the society, they conform to rules of law, few come forward and violate to it. And this violation is creating a kind of tension in social life. And as a reaction to this violation, punishment comes into prominence. He tells punishment cannot guarantee that crime will not persist in society. But when some people commit crime, it injures to the faith of the collectivity on the rules of law. Therefore, Durkheim tells crime is injuring to the will of conscience collective, people's faith in the rules of law. Therefore, when punishment is inflicted on the offender, the people, those who are conforming to rules of law, they develop consolidated faith in the rules of law. They reaffirm their faith in the rules of law. And their persistence, commitment to rules of law, give rise to the continuity of society. Therefore, punishment itself is not having direct functions, but punishment is having indirect function. It is reposing people's faith in the rules of law, giving rise to the continuity of society. So in a brilliant way, Durkheim tells that how functionality is present in every human discourse. And this functionality is a collective perception. Same idea is also reflected in Durkheim's theory of division of labor. In his theory of division of labor, he tells, by conforming to our occupational roles, we conform to the will of the society. As a teacher, I am conforming to rules of law. As a bureaucrat, somebody is conforming to rules of law, holding our positions, playing our roles. So our performance of roles in different institutional structures conforming to the will of society, for which society is subjected to continuity. And collectivity of people, when they are playing their role within a society, they conform to the will of society. We conform to the will of conscience collective. Therefore, individual performance of role befitting to the will of conscience collective is giving rise to the persistence and continuity of society. And when that conscience collective is fragmented, unfound, that leads to the state of anomy. Therefore, man conforms to society, and society is corresponding to or negotiating with the demands of the individual. This harmonic negotiation between individual and society keep the society going. And also in his analysis of religion, he tells how religion is not just a question of faith with a sect. And the religion is a symbol through which we attach ourselves, look at our identity or origin, define our social location, and through the religious rituals, forgetting our interpersonal differences, we come together and we promote a kind of integration as the members of the society. Therefore, religion cannot be replaced by science. The other name of religion is society worship. Therefore, religion is universal, and it is universally functional. It is a social necessity and foundation to social integration. Also in suicide, he tells, I don't want to repeat it once again, how suicide is primarily a reflection of the social currents present in society. Therefore, so suicide is establishing a bondage between man and society when it is anomic. When it is altruistic. When it is anomic, it talks about dislinkage between individual and society. So therefore, Durkheim looks into varieties of social condition through which he established linkage between individual and society, which is functional or which is dysfunctional. Dysfunctional relationship is present in a pathological state. Functional relationship is present in the normal social discourse. You know, there is another scholar, Italian scholar, Wilfred Pareto. He also reflects on functionalism in a very significant way. He tells every society is going through process of change, and mostly the changes are taking place in the institutional sphere. Suppose in education sphere there can be change, family sphere there can be change. So change can take place in different spheres of the society. When these changes are taking place, there is disturbances caused in various parts of the society. So these disturbances are neutralized through the rise of certain kind of intervening mechanisms. And once these disturbances taking place in various structural parts of the society are neutralized, a new form of consensus develops among various parts of the society. As a result, old society is replaced by new society, and old consensus is replaced by new kind of value consensus. Therefore, society is always a moving equilibrium. Change is regularly, constantly taking place in social life, and these changes are bringing forward new kind of negotiation among various parts, for which change is giving rise to a new form of continuity. So therefore, every society is having adaptive capability to negotiate with change and to go for persistence. This is a beautiful analysis of Pareto which is subsequently being taken up by functionalists like Talcott Parsons and also neo-functionalists. So when I speak about classical functional tradition, I identify Auguste Comte, Herbert Spencer, Emile Durkheim and Wilfred Pareto. They gave a strong foundation to sociological tradition, establishing interlinkage between the mainstream sociological theories like positivism, evolutionism, then primarily symbolic theory, and combining that with the functional analysis. You know, functionalism became popular not only in the domain of sociology, but also in the field of anthropology. I will be recalling Malinowski, who is considered as a founder of functional theory in anthropological tradition. You know, prior to Malinowski, simple societies were studied by the anthropologist through the use of evolutionary theory and through the use of diffusion theory. Malinowski conducted an in-depth empirical study on Trobriand islanders of Pacific. And he found out that in a small community, you know, culture is present in every sphere of life. And this is the culture that tells people to do and not to do certain things. Therefore, rules of marriage, possibility of divorce, participation in mode of production, perception of rituals, everything that people are engaged in a simple society is greatly defined by their cultural prescriptions. Therefore, Malinowski writes that culture is injected into the mind of the people in varied ways, through interpersonal negotiation, through socialization, through communication, through certain kinds of training. Culture gets into the mind of the people. Therefore, thinking in the line of this culture, people perform their roles in a very expected manner in different spheres of society. As a result, the foundation to culture noticed in case of economic sphere is also noticed in political sphere and family sphere. So therefore, different parts of the society are integrated together. He goes on to say that you cannot study a simple society segmenting one part from the other part. You have to study society as a whole. And all people living in this society, they have a common kind of cultural consciousness. And that cultural consciousness being a guide to their life, there is a discipline, there is a regularity in their behavior in every sphere of society. So therefore, Malinowski talks about the functions of culture. And he goes on to say, there is a difference between ideal culture and real culture. Culture is not a sacred cow, it is not something static. When ideal culture talks about what it ought to be, real culture talks about what it is. Therefore, people slowly make amendment in culture. New values come into primarily the culture. So culture goes through change without losing out its functionality. Therefore, cultural function is a universal function. Therefore, culture, Malinowski writes, is a man's guide. It is taking man from the world of darkness to the world of enlightenment. Like any other guide, culture is also enslaving man, directing him to manifest specific form of behavior in a specific institution, as a result of which culture mitigate the difference between various institutions, guiding man's behavior, disciplining their roles, as a result of which society is subjected to continuity. It is very interesting to write that, or to speak that, Malinowski when he was criticized of being a functionalist, he writes that I am a functionalist not by choice, rather I am a functionalist by compulsion. I am a functionalist by compulsion because I study small societies. In small society, it is very difficult to distinguish one institution from another institution. Family is not just engaged in reproductive roles, socialization. Family also trains manpower to fit into economic structure. Family give training to the people to fight war, to perform rituals. So therefore, family plays multiple kind of roles. So family is functional to other structures of society. Therefore, unless you have a functionalist orientation, it is difficult to notice how various parts are integrated to each other and functioning for the collective well-being and continuity of society. So now the question comes here is that sociologists look at social change and they use functional theory to consider how change is contributing for progress, how change comes through effective adaptation of man into institution, institution to society. Every change brings forward new kind of continuity, and anthropologists use this functional theory to understand small group situations where parts are related to each other and there is a continuity of society. So this is all about cultural functionalism theory of Malinowski and classical functional theory forwarded by Auguste Comte, two primary scholars like Wilfred Pareto. Now let us look into this functionalism, how getting a momentum through the contribution of American sociologists after 1930s to 1960s and 70s. This tradition persists. You know, American functionalism, founded by Talcott Parsons, is coming as a reaction to Marxian sociological theory. I would be considering this functionalism is a form of Americanism. It is trying to primarily, question to basic observations of Marxian theory. Marx tells conflict is endemic to social life. Because when we look at society, we find out there are present two opposite classes, one controlling over means of production and other is dependent on the dominant class. So therefore, there is a dialectics present in the relationship between haves and have-nots in every class society. And this dialectics generates conflict. So in every society, conflict is persistent and conflict brings forward change. So this theory of Karl Marx is unacceptable to Talcott Parsons. Therefore, Parsons tells that social change is not a product of complete structural breakdown of old society. Change is a continuous process. And following the footsteps of Pareto, he believes that every change is bringing forward a new form of continuity. Let me just tell you in brief how Talcott Parsons is developing a kind of functionalism which is known as analytical functionalism or known as critical functionalism. Parsons considers that society should be perceived as a system. And if there is a system, the system needs to have different parts. His functional theory tells that any society, in order to persist, must have to fulfill 4 functional prerequisites. Every system must have to adapt to its environment. Every system must have to have institutions, mechanisms present within itself to identify the goals, to work out on the means, use alternate means for the gratification of these goals. Every society must have to have present within itself the mechanisms to promote integration among various parts. And finally, every society to sustain, to survive, to operate must have to have mechanisms within itself to look after tension management. And there will be mechanisms, those who are giving certain kind of values to the people, direction to the institution, to work for the maintenance of the system. Therefore, every social system, in order to operate, must have to have 4 different mechanisms present within itself, undertaking adaptive roles, goal attainment roles, integration roles, and latency roles. Then he is developing a generalization. How these 4 roles are taken up by 4 institutions universally present in every society. Economy of every society is negotiating with the environment, obtaining resources, that what is the lifeline to the society. Governmental organizations are identifying the goals for different departments, mobilizing resources, and striving to gratify these goals. In every society, we have education, that is giving training to the people, religion, giving moral values to the people, legal system, giving well-defined body of law, helping society to maintain integration between individuals and individuals, individuals and institution, institution and institutions, and institution and society. And also in every society, you find out there is present family, peer group, which are addressing to emotional stress, turmoil people are going through at different phases of their life. So therefore, in every society, universally speaking, there are present distinctive institutions, structures, and these structures are undertaking different kind of functional roles, for which society is subjected to persistence and continuity. He goes on to say that not only within society these 4 functional roles are performed, even a microscopic unit like a school class, a family, you find out there are present individuals undertaking these adaptive, goal attainment, integration, and latency roles. Therefore, system, whether macroscopic or microscopic, in order to operate and sustain, must have to fulfill these 4 distinctive forms of roles. Therefore, society is functioning and persistent. Systems are continuous in character, because hidden within every structure, hidden within every system, hidden within every society are mechanisms present undertaking these designed, defined roles and attending their definite goals. So therefore, Parsons indicates that society is driven by integration between the parts, for which the society is subjected to continuity. Then he goes on to say how different sectors of the society are getting inputs from the lower system, outputs from the higher system, as a result of which every change is greatly subjected to negotiation, subjected to mutual dialogue between different parts of the society. So therefore, every change is bringing forward a new kind of continuity. You find out organismic system is primarily giving certain kind of inputs to personality system. Personality system is giving input to social system, and that gives input to cultural system. And cultural system is passing on its decision to the demands coming from the lower system to social system. What is then passing it on to primarily personality system, and finally it comes to organismic system. As a result of which, every system is negotiating with other system, giving demands to the next higher system, accepting to the decision of the higher system, for which there is a kind of cyclic movement of ideas, cyclic movements of inputs converged into output, establishing negotiation among various parts of the social system. So because of this negotiation, differences are resolved. Desire for change, intensity of change is primarily endorsed by all parts of the society, for which when change occurs, it is not sectoral, it becomes social, and that complete social change is acceptable to every part of the society. And if you look into the writings of Parsons, Parsons is giving importance on functions, emphasizing on mechanism of socialization and mechanism of social control. He tells every individual is going through the process of socialization for which he is conscious about the fact what the demands of counteractors are, what is the demand of the situation and expectations of others. He understands norms, values and rules through the process of socialization. Therefore, cultural socialization, psychic socialization, social socialization clearly define the roles and goals of the individual actors in different action situations. Therefore, he conforms to the demands of the situation effectively, for which society is subjected to persistence and continuity. So, mechanism of social control is primarily giving a guideline to an individual pertaining to what kind of behavior he will be manifesting, in what manner in relation to others. So, these mechanisms of control may be formal mechanism of control, informal mechanism of control, coercive mechanism of control. Through these controls, he is primarily controlling the behavior which is not appropriate befitting to the situation. Therefore, right kind of action manifested by the actor in understanding of the demand of the situation, for which he manifests right kind of behavior in the institutional structure, and therefore all institutions are primarily subjected to some kind of harmony and integration, giving rise to the continuity of society. He also speaks about pattern variable. He indicates that pattern variable A is present in case of simple society and pattern variable B is present in case of complex society. Pattern variable means a body of values which are guiding to individual behavior in different societies depending on the consensus, value consensus present in that society. In traditional society, you go for affective emotional relationship. In modern society, we go for affective neutral or rational behavior. In traditional society, one is committed to ascriptive orientation, giving importance on who the actor is. And in modern society, this is primarily achievement orientation, indicating what the actor is capable of doing. Therefore, diffusion versus specificity, ascription versus achievement. Collective orientation is present in case of simple society, and self-orientation is present in case of modern society. So, likewise, he talks about pattern variables which are present in simple societies different from modern societies, indicating that pattern variable offers a guideline to human behavior, conforming to which man conform to the basic discourses of society. So, if one looks into Parsons in entirety, one finds out, Parsons tells that society is a product of consensus. Consensus is always restart through negotiation, through dialogue, through primarily mutual sharing of ideas, negotiation among various parts of the society. So, therefore, the chance of coming into contest and conflict is very, very impossible in case of modern society. So, conflict that is glorified by Marxist tradition is being questioned by Talcott Parsons, who tells every individual is enjoying freedom to put forward his ideas, his demands to the institution of which he is a part, then that is deliberated. If it can be attended, it is attended. If not attended, then justification to non-attainment to these demands are given to individual actors. Therefore, man doesn't have sufficient reason to go against this system, to get engaged in different kinds of organized mobilization. So therefore, modern society is a society where freedom is guaranteed to man, his needs are gratified, then different parts are interrelated to each other, for which society is greatly subjected to continuity. This theory of Talcott Parsons was subsequently criticized by Robert K. Morton. Morton tells that Parsonian sociology of functionalism is giving more importance on functions than giving importance on dysfunctions and non-functions. He tells in every society there are institutions present. The role of that institution to the other institutions, role of the institutions to the individuals who are a part of it or located outside it, may not always be guaranteed to be functional. It can be dysfunctional, it can be non-functional. See, look into dowry as a kind of practice. Dowry as a form of practice is purely dysfunctional to modern Indian society. But at the same time, since we have dowry, we have a law that talks about abolition of dowry. Therefore, persistence of dowry is making an issue for the policymakers of the country to primarily make a public policy to abolish dowry. Since there is dowry, the different feminist groups are taking up this issue and initiating movement and protest. And dowry may also give rise to a kind of challenge to the modern women to question to that practice which is considered as a product of patriarchal caste system, Hindu religion. So therefore, we have to get into details of a particular practice, looking into its functions, dysfunctions and non-function. Therefore, Morton goes on to say that if we look into totality of functionalism, functionalism is primarily a vague sociological theory. It is greatly epistemological in character. It does not reach at the ground reality. Therefore, sociological theories should be so developed that they should be addressing to the everyday problem occurring in social life. Therefore, Morton is introducing smaller theories instead of grand theory, talking about middle range theories in sociology. Theories that can reflect on the existential condition. Theories that can be addressing to the everyday problem of the people. And Morton brilliantly tells that functions should not be taken for granted. When we speak about function, we have to keep in mind that there are two kinds of function. One is manifest function and second is latent function. Manifest function is intended. Suppose government is introducing a policy for poverty alleviation. Its intention is to reduce or minimize poverty. But these poverty alleviation programs are giving self-confidence to the people, economic empowerment to the people, and mostly the people, those who are economically empowered, belonging to lower caste, they are going for self-assertion. And that self-assertion is giving rise to the acceleration of caste conflict in contemporary India. So therefore, this outcome of this governmental policy was never intended and recognized. So the beauty of modern sociology is that don't take functions for granted. Look into institution, its roles, individuals, their actions, how can be functional, dysfunctional, non-functional to other institutions, other individuals in time and space. And on the basis of that, you develop a kind of sociological explanation of reality. Therefore, reality should not be coming out of our theoretical model. Reality should be coming out of the ground reality, on the basis of which we should be developing a theory. Therefore, theory should be coming out of facts. Facts are important. Facts should not be primarily fitting into a theory that is pre-designed, preconceived, abstract and vague. Therefore, Morton is redefining functionalism. He tells that functionalism should be primarily revised, structure functional theory should be introduced to make sense of sociological research. So, this explanation of Robert K. Morton gave a new direction to sociological imagination. You will be finding out that Melvin Tewman, he is primarily questioning to functional analysis of social stratification, which was forwarded by Davis and Moore and Talcott Parsons. So, he tells you cannot say stratificational system indicating the ranking of the people as absolutely functional. You cannot say stratification system is driven by the principle of merit and equality. In stratificational system, we will be finding out that people belonging to lower strata, they always do not get chance to get into the upper position of the stratificational system. The impact of inequality produced by stratificational system is not similar in every society. So, therefore, he primarily gets into the debate that how American system of stratification is glorifying the idea of equality of opportunity, but in actuality inequality still persists, perpetuate in case of American society. This is a brilliant analysis. So, functionalism forwarded by Talcott Parsons was subsequently questioned by Robert K. Morton, as a result of which structure functional theory developed in sociology. Therefore, structure functional theory is looking into the limits of functionalism, revising functionalism and looking into the empirical significance of functional theory in sociological research. And Robert K. Morton speaks about reference group theory, theory of anomie, theory of bureaucracy, which are small theories, which are addressing to the questions associated with the organizations, institutions, and looking into interface between one institution and the actors present within it, institution and other institution, giving a new dimension to sociological research. Around 1980s, functionalism got a reorientation by the scholars. Neo-functional tradition developed in sociology, and Jeffrey Alexander will be considered as the founder of this theory. Jeffrey Alexander tells that Parsons is a classical sociologist. He tells Parsons is more concerned about macro theories, the study of entire society. He is overemphasizing on consensus, which is not present in social life. He finds out that in contemporary sociology, politically loaded sociological theories are coming into prominence. Feminism for that matter, multiculturalism, environmentalism. So, these kind of theories which are developing in the domain of sociology are reflecting on the contradictions present in social life. The people, those who are holding power, are using their coercive control over the masses, as a result of which state and citizens are engaged in conflict with each other. And to address this kind of conflict, to explain the hidden agenda of the state, you find out neo-Marxian theory developing. So, therefore, Jeffrey Alexander tells that neo-functionalism is trying to make amendments in functional theory, accepting to the ideas of neo-Marxism, accepting to the idea of Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis. So, therefore, functionalism should not be primarily a static theoretical model. Therefore, he tells in a very brilliant way that when People are not happy with the existential order. They go for mobilization and protest. Look into Arab Spring. Look into civil society movement in India. So when people go for these kind of mobilizations are the quest for a new kind of change. Therefore, contradictions are always present in social life. And these contradictions are the product of the persistence of dissatisfaction, persistence of inequality. And this persistence of dissatisfaction and inequality giving rise to various kinds of popular mobilization. And these mobilizations are greatly interested in bringing transformations in the existential system. Therefore, neo-functionalism is not talking about order, persistence, continuity, integration. Rather, it is talking about threat to integration. And how through this threat, a new kind of order is evolving. So therefore, sociology is more concerned about not the maintenance of system, but how the new system is evolving, questioning to old system, bringing within itself the elements of inclusiveness, the elements of primarily participation. So therefore, functionalism is not a status quo theory talking about harmony, order, maintenance, integration and rules of law. Another interesting contribution to this neo-functionalism is forwarded by Niels Smelser. Smelser talks about ambivalence. He is borrowing this ideology from the writing of Sigmund Freud. And he is considering that people are locked, therefore system develops. Men in love become dependent on each other. And once they become dependent on each other, it is very difficult for them to get out of this intimacy. People in power get locked with each other. The people, those who are holding subservient position in the power structure, cannot lock out themselves from the control of the politically powerful. As a result, this kind of locking of relationship is developing a kind of proximity among the people. And from out of this proximity, system develops, structure develops. Therefore, Smelser writes, the people, those who live together, they are not necessarily supposed to love each other. When they love each other, they also hate each other. Therefore, social life is not a product of consensus. It's a kind of dynamism in role relationship, what he calls as ambivalence. So therefore, instead of role, he talks about relationship. Relationship, dependency. Dependency keep the structure going. So therefore, functionalism is revised from the domain of integration, harmony, continuity to the study of dynamic interrelationship among the people. So therefore, old functionalism is replaced by new functionalism, and new functionalism is all inclusive, it is dynamic, it is catering to the contemporary situations.
Okay. So, well friends, with these words we conclude the lecture. I thank all of you for watching the lecture, and on behalf I thank Dr. Subhas Mahapatra for giving such a wonderful lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you.